Hello everybody. Today we're going to be covering some of the components of mining. This is the interesting side of Bitcoin mining. And this could be a Bitcoin miner, this could be a Dash miner, this could be Ethereum miner. There's different types out now, but you'll get the basic concept of how these things work. We're taking a look at the S9. It has two fans on the outside of it. This thing weighs a little under 10 pounds, about 9.25 pounds. Has three circuit boards on it. Has a control board that slides in and out. Has cables that connect the control board to the circuit boards. Fans on the front and back. Front one on the front here runs about 6,000 RPM. This one runs about 4,300, producing about 200 CFM. So this really pushes some air through it. So we'll take a look at this. You can see on the front different connections that you have. You've got some LEDs here. The red, of course, is always bad, and green when it's flashing green, 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 it's running operationally functional. Then you've got your Ethernet connection, with your yellow and green light that'll flash if it's in operation here. You've got an IP report. That means if you're looking for your IP address on your computer, you can do a report right there. It's also got an SD card slot here. In that you can reprogram this for different types of programming here. Taking a look at the top, this is an Antminer S9. You can see this is an S9, 14 terahash. Serial number. You can see the cord coming from the front, going to the control board for the front fan. You've also got the same thing, the back fan wire going to the back fan. So these are different RPMs, different types of fans. We'll open this thing up, let you see what it looks like inside. I always like the magnetic tip screwdrivers. That way when you're dealing with small screws, you don't drop them as much. So I've already removed two screws, so I'll just remove the last two. Bitcoin went up a little bit today, up to about 9,200. Altcoins are doing pretty well. Okay, here's what the fan looks like. It's got a pretty thick dimension. It's about 1.5 inches thick. Very industrial fan. In the front of it here. All pretty much the same. 12 volt, 2.3 amps. This one happens to be a Yate Loon Electronics. Really good stuff there. Okay. Already taking the cord off this first circuit board. We'll pull that one out. There's just a slot right in the aluminum housing. Holds this thing all together. Take a look what this looks like. Squeaky clean. About 135 circuits or processors in each one in this whole system here. 135 of them. And on the outside here you've got heat sinks. The actual board, the actual processors are underneath there, and these are heat sinks. You can see them on the front and the back side. And so when the air flows through, pulls it right through and pulls that air right off of the chip itself. And this is where you hook in your power sources. Goes through the control board. 6-pin. The back of the board, you get your serial number. I don't know if we're going to get a focus on that. The information on the board is always new boards depending on when they're coming out. They're always coming out with new boards. Now this miner here is a few years old. They are actually making S9s, but not of this generation anymore. Making newer types. Okay, we'll go ahead and hook that back up. Well, they found out why Bitcoin dropped so much. Evidently, the news of Satoshi Nakamoto possibly spending some of his Bitcoin had a whole bunch of whales. That's guys with a lot of Bitcoin. Sell off a lot of Bitcoin. Dropped the whole market. Wasn't just one whale, it was a bunch of them. Those whales, they watch for news, try to make it happen really quick. We also need to connect this connector back onto the main board. Okay, everything's looking pretty good right there. So what we'll do now here is set this to the side. This is where we'll be operating the machine, the S9. So this one's about 14 terahash. And right now we're about 9 or 10 cents per terahash. So that would say, let's just call it 10 cents. That would say that this here machine would be making about $1.40 a day. $1.40 a day, you know, over a month's time period, what, $45? $45. The electric on this one here, it's going to run about 1400 watts. If you do your math on 1400 watts, standard electric rates in the United States is about 12 cents. We'll take it down to 10 cents because you got a good rate because you called your electric company and go, hey, I want a better rate. So you got it down to 10 cents. 10 cents times 1.4 kilowatts times 24 hours in a day times 30 days will run you about $100 a month. So that $45 profit doesn't take care of that $100 loss. You can do some things on this one here to make it a little bit more efficient. You're going to run probably a little over 100 joules per terahash. If you get some good software out there, there's a couple of them out there. Brains is a good one. Took it down to about 85 joules per terahash. So instead of 1400 watts, this one here runs at about 1200. And instead of 14 terahash, we can get about 15.25 out of it. It runs quite a bit more efficient. You know, it moves it up a little bit, probably $60 profitability. Unless your electric rate is really cheap, these things here are not efficient at all. The only way that you can actually make these things work is make them really efficient, drop the wattage down probably in half and let it run even more efficiently, maybe getting it into about the 60 joules per terahash range and using it for a heater. So you can put this thing right into the intake of your furnace system. Let your furnace just turn on the fan, don't turn on the furnace itself, just the fan. Turn it on, plug this into the back side of that, and therefore it'd circulate it throughout your whole house. And depending on how cold it gets there in Ohio, probably 6 of these, anywhere from 4 to 6 of these ought to take care of your house pretty well. There's some good information there. The type of abbreviation PSU, power supply unit, and this is a 750 watt. So we're going to need to take care of this machine here, and so each one of these boards is a little about 450 watts. So 750 will take care of one. Don't go above 80%. Don't max that capacity of that circuit breaker out. Don't max this out. Don't put the full 750 watts right on this one here. This one's the 750. We've got 1200 right over here. They look about the same. One's a little bit longer than the other. They've got their own fan on them for cooling. These are more of an industrial system here, and I get these from Parallel Miner. I've got a link down at the bottom for Parallel Miner, so it'll take you right to Parallel Miner. So if you buy just one of these, so the 750 here will cost you probably about 30 bucks. Cost you about $50. You can get a complete set from Parallel Miner, inclusive of 750 to 1200, 2 control boards, power controller, master and slave, and all the cables needed to hook up. You have 10 of these here, so connect up to this miner. So you get the whole set for about $70, $75, $72, something like that. So individually you get about $30 into this 750, $50 into this one here. These sell for probably about $10 a piece, and the control wire a few cents on there, maybe a couple bucks, and all these wires here. So you can get the whole package for about $75. Two other components that you're going to need is you're going to need a power cord. This is just standard power cord 110 that we're used to in the United States here. 110 power cord. A little bit different than most power cords. This is 14 gauge. I like to run heavy gauge power cords. I've got 2 of those, 14 gauge, and I run them into another 14 gauge, make one connection into the wall. Okay, next thing we have is, then we've got our device. This is a smart Wi-Fi device made by Moros. And what this does for me here is it hooks up to my Wi-Fi. I have a button for power on, power off here. And once I connect it into the wall, I can connect it into the Wi-Fi. So I can be anywhere in the world and get on my phone there and press a button, turn this machine on or off from any place. So if it needs a hard reboot, I don't have to be there to do it. I can just press the button on Moros onto turn this off. I'll take that single connection coming from the miner that has the 2. I'll connect that into there. Another device I use is the kilowatt. What this device does is tells me a whole bunch of information about the wattage, the electricity, the usage, the expectation. If you run this thing over a period of time, it will give you the estimated cost per day, week, month. Pretty useful device. You can hook a refrigerator up to this, plug it into the wall, and see the energy usage on it in watts, volts, whatever you want to. It's called a kilowatt. These things run about 20 bucks, maybe 20, 25, depending on what time you find them on Amazon. Nice device. Next thing is when I'm traveling, most hotels now don't have Ethernet cables, they just have Wi-Fi. And so what you can do on this device here, it has to have Ethernet connector. I use a range extender. I hook into and capture that Wi-Fi. Down at the bottom there, it has a hardwire connector, and I run that connector right into the miner. The miner doesn't know any different. What it also does is if you run that into a switch, and you can run this miner, you can run your computer, you can run several different things. It gives you an extra layer of security in your hotel room if you're traveling. And the one that I prefer here that is the TP-Link. This is the AC 1200 Wi-Fi. Pretty nice little device. Okay, the last portion of it here. Well, one more piece here. We've got our Ethernet connector and these. I buy this little film here. You don't have to buy this, but it keeps your machine clean. Saves you a lot of work here. So you clean this rather than taking your machine apart. I probably take my machine apart once every 2-3 months, something like that. Blow it out with an air compressor. But this keeps me from tearing it down every month or every couple of weeks, depending on the environment. Now in a hotel room, it's pretty clean, but you know, in a garage or something like that, it's sucking up bugs, it's sucking up dust, a whole bunch of particles in the air. So just a nice little piece. You can clean it out, you can wash it out, put it back, and you just put it on the intake of the machine. Okay, we're ready to hook everything up. It's the fun part now. Okay. Start with our power supply, 750. Hook up our control board. Our other power supply, we'll hook up our other control board. We'll go ahead and hook up our master and slave cable here. This will ensure that when one turns on, the other will turn on as well. Always kind of pull back to make sure that those are seated correctly. And also with these connectors, I'll give you a close-up on this. You can see the end of it. 6 connectors on the end, and at the top, the little connector that snaps on. So you should get a good snap sound when you put them on. Another thing, you want to put one card on one power supply. You don't want to hook both power supplies or run one power supply across a bunch of them. Because if this power supply goes down, you want the whole board to go down. You don't want half the boards to go down or part of the boards. So we'll go ahead and hook this up.
Snaps on. Pull it back just a little bit. Snaps on. Connected. Snaps on. Connected. So on the 1200, we'll hook up 2 boards and also the control board. So that's one board hooked up there. And we'll take the control board, put that one over there as well. Okay, moving right along. Kind of see what it takes to hook up one machine. Could imagine what it takes to hook up several machines. I think my daughter, she hooked up 78 of these in one day. Her fingers were so sore the next day. Okay, I'll take the last board and hook it up to the 750. Last connector. Okay, everything's hooked up. Now I'll check all the connections, make sure I hooked everything up correctly. Make sure those fans are connected correctly. Make sure they're on the boards correctly. Everything is on. Got our master slave on. I think we're good on that. So next thing you want to, whenever you come to the front of the unit here, you want to make sure your Ethernet connection is connected. Then we'll go to our power supplies, get them hooked up. Then we'll take each one of our power supplies, connect them into our single connector. Okay, and then we want to hook it into our Mirage so we can turn it off from anywhere in the world, and also our kilowatt so I can measure it, see how it's doing. Okay, make that connection, and I'll go ahead and plug it in.
These power supplies are 110 and 220. They can hook up either way. We've got everything hooked up and we're ready to turn it on. I'm going to press that button on the side. It'll start up. Start up a little quiet here. See the control boards are running. Seeing the green lights in the back on the control board there. Power supplies are running. Okay, it's just starting up right now. It'll get going. Okay, go ahead and put that filter on. What works good on this is if you just take a paper clip and put it right on there. And it holds it on there even if it's turned on or not. She goes. Not quite started mining yet, just picking up speed. be able to tell. You can see the flashing lights on that it has internet connection right now. There we go. We're good now. Okay. That's connecting up Ant Miner S9. It's going to start and stop just for a little bit, get everything running properly here. Put the name of the program down in the bottom of the screen. Here's the miner running, doing well. Just think this thing's putting out using about 1,400 watts. There's a lot of heat coming out of the back there. There's a lot of air, about 200 cubic feet per minute coming out of this thing. Noise is running at about 85 decibels. I'm speaking a little bit loud, but I'm trying to speak loud enough so I can hear myself. I'll tuck this thing underneath the table here in a little bit. Just an important tip, probably a safety tip. These things, these miners and wives, they don't get along. Thank you very much for joining me and the miner here today. Show you a little bit about Bitcoin mining. Have a wonderful day. Lockjaw, and I'm out.